Never lower your standards to make others feel more comfortable. The only people that are uncomfortable are the people that couldn't meet those standards anyway. And you don't want them.
Listen to me very carefully. Your standards are not too high. You've just been dealing with people who want you to lower them. And today we're going to talk about why maintaining your personal standards isn't just about relationships. It's about protecting your peace, your purpose, and your power. Let me ask you this. Have you ever looked around at your life and wondered, how did I get here? So do you remember in the movie The Devil Wears Prada, a classic by the way, where Andy begins sacrificing herself for Miranda's validation and approval, and she begins losing herself and starts compromising everything she stands for, until that one day in Paris where she barely recognizes herself and realizes something needs to change? Sometimes that's exactly how lowering your standards works. It's so subtle and degrades over time, and you don't even notice it's happening until you're at your breaking point. If you really think about it, sacrificing yourself starts off small. Maybe you let the same unreliable friend cancel plans last minute again. Maybe you accept that half-hearted apology from your significant other again. Maybe you push your own self-care needs aside because now isn't the right time again. And before you know it, these small compromises become your normal. And that woman who once had clear boundaries and high standards, she's now buried under a mountain of excuses like, it's not that bad and I can handle it. And this used to be me. A few years ago, I found myself in a relationship where I had been compromising so many of my standards that my life felt like it was engulfed in the other person's drama. And their bad life choices was consuming our relationship and my life. I was also accepting friendships that drained me, staying in situations long after they had expired, and staying in a toxic work environment where I wasn't being compensated for the amount of work that I was doing. My mental health was suffering and my peace was constantly disturbed. My relationship was stagnant, and all of those relationship goals I had in mind were collecting dust on a shelf labeled someday. Things in my life were a mess, to say the least. But I could have avoided all of this had I maintained my standards and refused to settle for less. I eventually did turn things around once I established my personal woman code, which I now use as a filter to ensure I am in alignment with all aspects of my life.
And when you set your standards or you set your boundaries, people are going to say, oh, you think you're all that. I am. And I don't care. I am. And I don't need you to make me feel like I am. I'm going to set this standard and I'm going to live by this standard. And I'm not going to let anybody come into my life, not even be a business partner, not be a marriage partner, not be a girlfriend, boyfriend, and pull me down to where you are.
But here's what nobody tells you about lowering your standards. It's not just about accepting less than you deserve in relationships or settling for less than you're worth at work. It shows up in other areas of your life, like the doctor's appointment you keep postponing, that cluttered space you've learned to live with, those boundaries you keep letting people cross, that dream you keep putting on hold, that peace you keep sacrificing for others. And I don't want this for you ladies, because accepting poor experiences in life is not it. I created this channel to focus heavily on mental and emotional wellness, as well as having high standards and boundaries. Most of us think of wellness as just nutrition and our workout routines, but mental and emotional wellness is just as important as physical wellness. So we talk a lot about those topics here on your Wellness Era channel that affect your mental and emotional wellness and how to glow up and level up in those areas.
Raise your standards. Raise your standards for what you will accept going forward. period. Raise your standards in your personal relationships, professional relationships, for vendors, for platonic, whatever it is. Raise your standards. Stop tolerating the intolerable. Stop managing the unmanageable. Stop settling for the bare minimum. Stop settling for low effort. Be willing to say no, right? So that you can say yes to what you really want.
And if any of this resonates with you right now, I want you to know you're not alone in your journey. And more importantly, you don't have to figure this out by yourself. So stay plugged into this channel and sign up for my free newsletter, because I'm always providing resources to help you level up. Also, for a limited time, I'm offering 2 sacred experiences designed specifically for women ready to stop settling and start thriving. You can book a call with me for the Sacred Standards session, where we'll uncover your personal woman code, which becomes your filter for attracting high quality relationships, opportunities, and experiences that align with who you are. Or schedule a call for the Sacred Self-Care session, where we'll design a sustainable self-care practice based on your values that fits your lifestyle while protecting your peace and prioritizing your well-being. The link for more details is in the description box. These intimate sessions are only available for a limited time, so don't wait to reserve your spot. Here's what I need you to understand about standards. Every time you lower your standards, you're not just compromising on that one thing. You're sending a message to yourself and to the world about what you're willing to accept. So think about it. When was the last time that lowering your standards actually made your life better? When did accepting less than you deserve ever lead to more than you hoped for? Lowering your standards didn't help anything, right? Because it doesn't work that way. Your standards aren't just about saying no to what doesn't serve you. They're about saying yes to what you actually deserve. Having and maintaining your standards is about creating space for what aligns with your worth. When you maintain high standards, you're not being difficult, you're being discerning. You're not being too much, you're being exactly enough. Your peace is non-negotiable, your respect is non-negotiable. Your growth is non-negotiable, and anyone or anything that tries to compromise these needs to be eliminated from your life. So how do you start raising your standards back up? It starts with getting crystal clear on your non-negotiables, understanding your critical needs, your core values, and your self-care needs. What do you absolutely need to feel peaceful, fulfilled, and aligned? What are you no longer willing to compromise on? Standards are there for your protection. They protect your peace, your purpose, and your potential. They're the filter through which you should be evaluating every opportunity, relationship, and decision that comes your way. I want you to have the confidence to articulate your needs. Don't feel like you're being aggressive or demanding. You just want to be clear and unapologetic about what you require. If someone can't meet your standards, that's not your problem to fix. That's not your responsibility to manage. Because how many times have you crossed paths with someone who had no standards, no goals, or no ambition? I bet they had no problem knocking you off yours. This is why it's so important to stay connected with people who have their own set of high standards and a plan for their life, because they're too busy leveling up their own lives and not trying to disrupt yours. And another thing, when you're maintaining your standards, stay away from the people who always say they're thinking about doing XYZ, and then the next week they're thinking about doing something completely different, and they never follow through on the first thing that they were thinking about. Thinking about doing something and actually following through with a plan are two different things. The thing about the thinking about people is that they never have any motion. So I suggest to everyone to have a standard of distancing yourself from these kind of people unless you want to remain stagnant.
A lot of women say that they've raised their standards and they're telling everybody what they will and will not accept and how they are. This year, this is a new year, and I'm not accepting less anymore. But let me tell you something really critical. It doesn't matter what you say if you are accepting less from yourself. Because if you say I'm not accepting less from other people, but really you tell yourself I'm going to do this, like I'm going to get up and go to the gym, and then you don't go do it, or you make a promise to yourself and you break your own promise to yourself, let me tell you, you are negating every other thing in your life. You're negating your word, because if you can't keep your own standards for yourself, then what you are essentially saying energetically and inviting is you're inviting people who won't keep your standards. They won't hold your standards because you yourself aren't holding them. So the first place you have to raise your standards is within yourself, to say, from this moment on, I am going to do X, Y, Z. So for example, I'm going to honor my own word. I am not going to play myself cheap. For example, for me, I invest heavily in myself. And so I expect and attract people who pour into me, people who want to invest in me, people who want to give to me, because I give to myself. I don't nickel and dime myself. I'm not cheap with myself.
And you must use your core values to filter every opportunity that comes your way, whether it's a job, a relationship, a friendship, or a business partnership. If it doesn't align with your standards, it's a no. Period. No explanation needed. Your standards determine your story. So what story do you want to tell? Are you ready to write a new chapter? If so, then book a sacred session with me. The link is in the description box. Let me know in the comments, what's one standard you're no longer willing to compromise on? Don't forget to like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.